musician forging new boundaries in fusion delves into Chinese traditions, and new blood merging jazz with rock and hip-hop. Producer Yan Zhou meets the talents behind the dynamics of jazz in Hong Kong.
The combination of the Pei Pai and the Yiwu and all that is beautiful. It's quite amazing. It's going to be a new sound to jazz. Quite powerful also.
Ted Lowe takes a road less traveled.
I'm not using a jazz drummer for this gig. Totally just using the orchestral instruments because I want to respect the tradition of the Chinese instrument. And it's quite challenging for the rhythm, for them to create a jazz beat, a groove.
Ted spent 6 months composing and rearranging music for a jazz concert with the Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra this February.
For the first time, I'm arranging a lot of my old songs, but in this format with the Chinese orchestra. Prior to this, I had no idea about most of the Chinese instruments, their characters, and I'm learning as I go. Let's say the Yiwu, that would be the closest instrument to violins, although it has only 2 strings, but very expressive. I feel that music has always been evolving, all kinds of possibilities. It's a fusion of cultures, and so it's great to have an open mind for us.
Ted grew up in a family where music played an important role. Nephew Justin Lowe is a pop star. Ted himself started with pop and rock music. He embraced jazz when he emigrated to Canada in his teens.
The basic elements of jazz are the rhythms, the harmony, and the vocabulary for the improvisation. Just express music freely. That's very challenging. I like that feeling.
At the age of 21, he went to Boston to study jazz at the world-renowned Berklee College of Music, becoming its first graduate from Hong Kong.
I just love music too much. I was determined to be a jazz pianist.
Ted Lowe. In 1979, he moved to New York City to fulfill that dream.
I learned so much being in New York. Atmosphere is different here. If it's jazz, it was a jazz club, not a musical. So we expect 100% jazz audience. Musicianship is much higher. So many jazz musicians in New York that I can work with or collaborate.
In the late 80s, Ted was invited to work on some cantopop projects. He eventually moved back to Hong Kong.
When I came back to Hong Kong, I said, wow, they call me godfather of jazz. Come on, in America, there's no way I'll be godfather of jazz. As a local musician now, my main bread and butter is usually not jazz. I have to produce, arrange, and whatever, to make a living.
For Ted, jazz will always be his greatest love. 2 years ago, he took up drums as his second instrument.
There's so much to learn, right? Never ending.
The Ted Lowe and Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra Extravaganza played to a full house at the Cultural Center.
Jazz and Chinese, it's a very fusion. I believe there will be jazz audience, there will be more mature audience, and so there's a young crowd also too.